Okay. I think I got you. Look at this. A legend is popping up here. This is fun. You have a good sense. I hope, Mr. Coley, I hope you have a good sense of humor with me.
Are you kidding, man? I got the best sense of humor in anybody in the world. I am the least offendable person in the world.
I am Stephen. You're beautiful. You're an artist on record. Your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. Who do we have in the hot seat tonight? The legendary John Ford Coley. He's in the hot seat. Man's a legend. Great rock and roll stories. We're going to get to know him. He's going to get to know you. It's all going to start right now. Don't touch that dial. You know what? You're John Ford Coley. You got a lot of friends. I'll tell you why. The music that you've given us, songs like I Really Love to See You Tonight. I'm not talking about moving in, and I don't. We'll never have to say goodbye again. We'll never have to say goodbye. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Nights are forever without you. Nights are forever without you. I could go on. These are songs that brought relationships together. You eat, and when people broke up with each other, they still listen to those songs, and you brought people back together. So if you're not the most friendliest guy in America, making people unite again from the love music that you brought to us, no, come on.
Now, let me tell you what I tell people from the stage after I play Sad to Belong. I noticed that people after the shows, when they're out meeting everyone, some a little bit agitated. I couldn't quite figure it out. You know, I would see this quite a bit. And one night there was this lady's talking to me, and she's going on and on and on about her old boyfriend when she was, you know, this song, and I'm seeing her husband go, and I thought, geez, okay, I get it. I get it. And I tell them, look, the chances are pretty good the person you came with tonight might not be the person you're thinking about, and they might not be thinking about you during the song. It's okay. It's 50 years ago. Get over it. You know, it's like, come on, just let it go. It was your boyfriend. Fine, good, cool. So people are fun. They still get hostile about that sort of thing.
They take the song serious.
They take it seriously, yeah.
Have you ever met somebody like that went up to you and it goes, but you don't understand. Nights are forever. You don't understand what
I wrote a book, and it tells a story about this one lady who came up to me. Literally, it went just like this. She grabbed me by the hand, had one of the old LPs. She was very corporate looking, lawyerly looking, you know, and she very close to me in her sweet voice. She said, I want you to know, my fiance and I fell in love to your song, Nights Are Forever Without You. We danced to the song. We loved to the song. We did everything to that song, you know, and not being remotely interested in what that lady's everything included. I just said, well, thank you very much. That lady got about that far from my nose, and a voice I didn't recognize. She said, and then that blankety blank so-and-so left me, and I've hated your song ever since. And it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? You know, it's like I felt like I'm talking to Satan. It's like he morphed him big in my face. And I wrote that story in the book. It opens the book. That's actually what got me to write the book.
You met the Susquehanna hat company, hat lady from Abbott and Costello. Those hats. Slowly I turned Niagara Falls step by step.
That was what it was. You'd be surprised at things that happen out on the road. Sometimes it's comical. Sometimes you just go, okay. All right.
Don't take it so hard. I'm a musician. It's my job.
Right. But again, earlier, they take this thing very, very seriously. And I understand that. And it's great. And I love it. But it's like sometimes it gets a little bit weird.
I mean, we're all fans of some. Who are you a big fan of? Like somebody who was growing up as a kid. Who did you like?
I love Buffalo Springfield. There was a lot of I'll tell you a story, okay? Because again, I'm a Texas boy, so I tell stories all the time.
I love it.
First record, and we had an engineer by the name of Henry Louis, and Henry's German. He's into meditation. He's all these things. So he would take time off during the sessions. He'd go meditate. We'd go someplace else. He comes back in It's just, I'm in the studio. So he just starts talking to me and he says, John, who do you like? Who do you really like musically? And I said, Henry, man, I don't like mainstream stuff. I mainly fall in the line of people that are a little bit different. I said, as a matter of fact, there's this one girl just knocks me out. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Joni Mitchell. You heard of her? And he looked at me and he said, John, are you serious? And I said, no, have you heard of her? And he goes, John, I'm her producer. She's recording over in Studio C on Saturday. You want to come over and see her? So I went over and watched Joni Mitchell record 2 songs on the Blue album. I just missed James Taylor by about 10, 15 minutes. He had played on that. And it was like, yeah, so I listened to the people that I thought were weird, people that actually had musical talent, like a Dan Fogelberg or, Moby Grape, things like that. People didn't really know who a lot of those people were, but those were the ones because they were musical. And I love the music.
When you met Dan, England Dan, and I know the story, it's a funny story, and I heard you say, but I want you to share it with my viewers because he had a fake accent. And so I got to know about this whole story, meeting him and all that. Can you take us back a little bit?
I can't, there was Dan was in an established band called Playboys 5, and they had a guitar player that quit. Dan wanted another guitar player. Everybody else wanted a keyboard player. So I auditioned, I get the gig. And Dan and I, we just did not get along at all. I'm trying everything in the world not to tick him off because he's a lead singer and saxophone player. And so we ended up driving to gigs together. So we'd sing Everly Brothers and Righteous Brothers. And he always grabbed the lead. I always took the harmony because that was what I excelled at. And we just kind of established a sound, just kind of watched that thing grow over the years. He used to walk around because the Beatles and Stones and all those guys were really big back during the time we were doing this. So he's trying to fake the English accent. No, don't call me Dan, call me Don. It's like, okay, here we go. So, and that name, actually, Jimmy Seals, his brother from Seals and Crofts, is the one who came up with our name because we were called Collie Whalen at the time when we started playing by ourselves. And so no one could get Collie. They've never been able to pronounce my last name. So Jimmy said, let's drop an L from that, put Ford in, because for him, it was John Ford, the big director. For me, it was John Rip Ford, the Confederate general that won the last battle of what we call the War for Southern Independence down in Texas. He also was one that picked up a bunch of the guys from the Alamo and helped bury him. Wow. So that was the name for me. And it just kind of stuck, with England, Dan and John Ford Coley, because you're always looking for a name. You've got the opportunity to take your last names like Loggins and Messina, or Seals and Crofts, Hall & Oates, or the Carpenters, you get a name. But the best thing in the world that ever happened to me was I got to use my name in the group name. So when somebody asks me who I am, and I go, John Coley, they kind of, you can see their eyes kind of flicker, and they go, England Dan and John Ford Coley? I go, yeah. I'm not talking about millennium, and I don't. I mean, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So, complete accident. It wasn't something that was done by design. It was just an entire accident.
You guys didn't get along, right? It's so crazy. Right. It's so crazy. Just
later on, we got to be closer than brothers. I mean, literally, we could read one another's minds from great distances away. There was one time I was at school and Dan just arbitrarily, we didn't have phones like we do now, 67, 68. And so he's coming up. He's got an idea for a song that's 40 miles away to Denton, Texas from Dallas. And I'm sitting there going, Dan's coming. Dan's coming. And bingo, he's at the door. And I went, so we really could read one another's minds pretty well. We got to be closer than brothers.
That's really wild. That's a brotherly thing. And all from the music. So the bond happened when you guys were doing those drives, Everly Brothers just singing. That's when you started connecting. Music.
Yeah, we had a lot of shared interests. Dan was a very wise man. He was very sage-like. And so he was very funny. And what was great about it was that Dan would make all these outlandish, crazy remarks. But when he would step on stage, it was like somebody put a piece of tape over his mouth or a big chastity belt on his head and couldn't move. You know, he just wouldn't say anything. Well, I'm saying all of these things. So I learned, you know, I used to wear a shoe around my neck, talking about, you know, putting a shoe in my mouth, sort of a deal. And I just learned to talk, because I was kind of quiet about those things. You know, I would tell jokes to people and stuff, but I never got outlandish. And then it just grew and grew and grew.
Simone, why do you cry?
Did you open for Zeppelin? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we did in Dallas. The group that we were in calls the Southwest FOB. And at that particular time, we had actually kind of morphed into the 70s, I mean, the late 60s, kind of fusion jazz sort of stuff. I played organ and piano, and Dan played saxophone. And so we opened for those guys down in Houston and in Dallas. And now what was funny about it was several years later, I'm in a film called Scenes from the Gold Mine. So Timothy B. Schmidt's the bass player. I'm the drummer in the band, you know. And we're talking with all these people and who they played with. And I said, well, you know, we played with Led Zeppelin. And they're going, oh, no, you didn't. Come on. No, you didn't. So I went, all right. I went home. I pulled up the articles that had my name in it because it said Southwest FOB flies over Led Zeppelin. We were hot that night. We did a great job. Got my name on it. And I just walked in and I said, guys, see this? I don't have to lie about this shit. Okay. There. And that was it.
I saw on your Facebook, you posted about England, Dan, about just recently he passed. Was it 14 years that he's gone? And you did a nice post regarding him. You wrote, and I put it up here, it's difficult to believe it's been 14 years since Dan passed away. I'm sure he still had a lot of music in him that we will never get to hear. And I think about all the pie he is missing here, but I'm kind of under the impression it's probably better where he's at. Rest in peace, Dan. And it was a beautiful post.
Yeah, I miss Dan. Dan was a good guy. You know, we spent all those years together, traveled the world together. I raised his kids. He raised mine. I went through his marriages. He went through mine.
You went through a lot.
You know, so we had all those touring years together, and you get to see the world. And at a certain point, it just becomes time to call it.
Yeah.
We kind of kept up. We were both in the same religion at that time. Then I got out, and that kind of caused a little bit of a rift, but it's life.
But when the band split up, you just went your own ways. But did you keep, in contact with each other in that time, or was it?
No, not so much during that time. I think there was, problems that happened. The thing that happened to probably so many groups is the same thing that happened to us. You end up with a lot of people. You've got a unified front, and then you've got people that worm their way in. They start telling you different things. You telling this one different things. It ends up causing a rift. It ends up causing problems. And before you know it, bingo, it's kind of done.
Yeah. The outsiders get in and they just pollute it all.
As a matter of fact, I laugh and I joke a lot when I do some of the classes, and I tell people, if you're in a group, here's how it works, especially if you're in a group. Keep your wives and your girlfriends, your husbands and your wife out of your business. Okay, it causes problems. Rule number 2, keep your stupid wives and stupid girlfriends and stupid husbands and stupid boyfriends out of your business. Rule number 3, keep your ignorant, well-meaning, but dangerous wives, husbands, girlfriends, boyfriends out of your business, because the girls get in a fight. Uh-oh. Now you got to defend your girlfriend, and now the band's fighting. You go, man, no, just stay away.
And I'd really love to see, ooh, I'd love to see you tonight.
That was Mr. John Ford Coley. And if you want to see more of this episode, unedited, uncut, join our all access VIP backstage pass and Patreon. But until then, something cool is going to pop up. Make sure you click on it. Make sure you subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Let me know I'm doing a good job. Put your comments down below. Until then, remember, it's only rock and roll, and we like it. And who loves you, baby? We do.